Today we're talking about how to lose 20 pounds in a month. So first off, how did we get into this situation? So I've been eating keto for the last 3 years, and I decided to take a cheat month during the month of December. So of course I packed on about 10 or 15 pounds. So now I'm going to lose it. But I wanted to walk you through how it's done. Even though the plan is to lose 20 pounds in a month, I'm planning to continue this experiment for 8 weeks. I may modify it midway through depending on results. But we are going to hit the initial target of losing 20 pounds in the first month. And I'll provide weekly updates. With each weekly update, I'm going to cover a new topic. And if you go down into the show description, it'll cover what the topics are. But very briefly, this week I'm going to talk about what the plan is. Next week, it's going to talk about diet. How do you make sure you're staying healthy while you're doing this? How to exercise cold. Michael Phelps used to burn 8,000 calories a day. It wasn't because he was swimming as much as the fact that he was in the pool having to retain his body heat. Negative repetitions, what those are and how those help. Fasting, cardio. What purpose does it serve? How to avoid hunger. And then lastly, I'm going to come back with the results. First off, we want to talk about what does 20 pounds look like. We hear about people losing 140 pounds, 10 pounds, so I wanted to make it real. So this is canola oil. Let's call this fat. This is 6 pounds. This is what 6 pounds looks like. So when somebody says they lose 6 pounds, that means they used to carry this distributed around them somewhere. Now they don't. This is 12 pounds. This is what 12 pounds looks like. Now we add a gallon. This is 20 pounds. So when somebody says they've lost 20 pounds, this is what they've lost. Think about that. That's 2.5 gallons of lard that's evenly distributed over your body, and you're carrying it and you're barely even aware that you're doing it. That's what 20 pounds looks like. You've probably heard people, when they start a diet, say that they lose 10 pounds in the first week. I will probably lose 10 pounds this coming week. When you understand how it works, it's really pretty simple. It's not necessarily all good news. You carry a lot of energy in the form of glycogen. So any excess glucose or sugar that you have in your bloodstream gets stored as glycogen. You store about 400 grams in your liver, you store about 100 grams in your muscle cells throughout your body. So about 500 grams of glycogen. Now, and glycogen is basically just a different form of sugar. Glycogen is stored typically along with 3 times its weight in water. So you end up with about 2 kilograms total between water and glycogen. So when you first start a diet, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to burn up your glycogen reserve. So when you first start off, you're going to lose about this much water. You're going to lose 4 or 5 pounds of water. And I don't mean dehydration. This is simply water that comes out of your muscle cells. Now, when bodybuilders, that ripped look that they go for at the end of when they're competing with all the striations and so on, the last couple of days before a meet, they don't eat any carbohydrates because when they do, carbohydrates store in your muscle cells along with water, and it gives them kind of a bloated look, and it compromises that striated look that they're going for. So when you go on a diet, count on losing 5 pounds of glycogen right off the bat. Now, when you end a diet and go back to eating normal, count on gaining that glycogen back. That's your energy reserve. You're going to get it back. So even though it's fun and it'll show up on the scale as a 5 pound loss, you can't really count it as a 5 pound win. We're trying to lose body fat. We're not just trying to lose weight. Secondly, at any given point, you're going to have a certain amount of food working its way through your digestive tract. You eat stuff. I apologize, this isn't a normal menu selection. You might have 5 or 10 pounds of food working its way through your digestive tract at any given point. What happens when you go on a diet and eat less? A week later, since you're eating less, you have half the inventory in your digestive tract. We've lost about this much weight. So you're going to lose another 3 or 4 pounds simply because you're not going to be carrying food in process as it works its way through you. This is 7 or 8 pounds that we've lost without losing an ounce of fat. When people talk about losing 10 pounds the first week, that's what's going on. It's not that the diet is super effective. They've gotten rid of their glycogen in water, they've gotten rid of the excess food that's working its way through their gut, but have they lost any fat? That's what the ultimate objective is, and so let's talk about that for a minute. To lose a pound of fat, it's necessary to burn 3,500 calories more than you consume. You have to run a caloric deficit of 3,500 calories. So in my case, since I'm going after 20 pounds of fat loss, not simply weight loss, that pencils out to a caloric deficit of 70,000 calories over the course of a month, or roughly 2,300 calories a day. So I want to make the calorie numbers real for just a minute. An apple is about 100 calories. So running a mile burns somewhere between 100 and 150 calories. You run a mile, you burn an apple. In the case of oil, it's even worse. Oil would be things like salad dressing, peanut butter. Each tablespoon of oil has about 120 calories. So if you run a mile, you can expect to get rid of about a tablespoon of body fat. What if someone runs 3 miles? That's about 500 calories. You'll lose about a quarter cup of body fat if you run 3 miles without eating anything extra. So if it takes 5 miles to burn off a quarter cup, what's it going to take for me to burn 20 pounds? For me to burn 2.5 gallons? That's a lot. That's why there's no quick and easy way to do it. Yes, you can lose water. Yes, you can use glycogen. Yes, you can rid yourself of some of your inventory. But when it comes down to losing fat, it's a long and tedious process. One of the key takeaways here is you're not going to lose weight as a result of exercising. Although exercise is important. But the reason exercise is important isn't because you're burning calories. The reason exercise is important is because it keeps you from burning your muscle tissue instead of the fat. Each pound of muscle costs you about 10 calories per day to maintain. Fat costs about 2 calories per day to maintain. And so the reason you're exercising isn't to burn off calories necessarily. It's more to indicate to your body that it needs to retain the muscle instead of getting rid of it. Your body would much rather burn muscle than fat. One other thing that's worth noting is that if you burn a pound of fat, you get 3,500 calories out of it. If you burn a pound of muscle, you get somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 calories out of it. So if you burn 3,000 calories more than you consume, you could either lose a pound of fat or 3 pounds of muscle. So if you're losing weight fast, that's not necessarily a positive sign. It may simply mean that you're burning muscle, because you have to burn a lot more muscle to make up the same caloric deficit than you do if you're burning fat. We'll talk about nutrition and diet much more specifically next week, but for now, suffice it to say that this diet will consist largely of eating 5 or 6 very small meals evenly distributed throughout the day. The idea is to continuously run a caloric deficit, but never to become ravenously hungry, because if you do, you're going to eat something and then all bets are off. So you never want to be more than a few hours from your next meal, but you want your next meal to be a small one. And hopefully something that makes you feel less hungry. And we'll talk more about that in coming weeks. But that's it. That's the goal. In the next 30 days, in the next month, we're going to lose 20 pounds. The experiment's going to continue for another month after that. We'll see how it goes.